One of the highlights of every New Year's Day is seeing our City of Torrance float in the Rose Parade. With a history spanning over 65 years, it is a moment of community pride when our float comes down Colorado Boulevard in front of millions of people around the country and around the world. Let's take a look behind the scenes of this year's float.
Our float this year is all about the Pine Winds Garden in the City of Torrance. It's a place where you can go and sit and relax and reflect on your thoughts and maybe your hopes and dreams for the future. And that's why we've titled our float, our Garden of Hopes and Dreams.
Our float is different than a lot of the other floats, but when I look at our float, it's kind of like a three-dimensional real-life watercolor painting. And I'm really excited because it's unique from all the other floats in the parade and so beautiful.
The design concept came from our design contest that we hold every year with our high school students that live in Torrance. And our student this year came up with this design, and she will be riding on the float, Aaliyah Kang.
I kind of thought I was in trouble because they called me to the principal's office, and I was like, I didn't know why. And then they handed me a slip of paper, and they're like, okay, so you're going to go to the city council meeting. By the way, you won the Rose Float contest. I was like, oh my goodness. So I started out wanting to do some sort of garden, because when I thought of hope and dreams, I thought of growth, and that's in a garden. So I talked about it with my teacher, and she said, well, you could base it off of the Pinewind Botanical Garden in Torrance. Becoming something different, blooming into something else. That's the idea that I wanted to talk about.
With a great design in place, the florals are next. For the past 12 years, floral designer Will Gonzalez has shut down his floral shops during the week between Christmas and New Year's and spent it with his floral family at Fiesta Parade floats. This year, he is the lead florist for Torrance's Rose Float, where he is responsible for bringing the float alive with flowers.
Working on the Rose Parade is one of those big challenges, because in a regular world flower shop, you just don't get to work with this volume of product and this quality of product that's going to get the level of visibility. I get a chance to work with flowers in a way that I only dreamed I'd be able to work with them. Watching television as a kid and watching the Rose Parade, I never thought that one day that, wait, maybe I could do this little contest. Jim Hind is the floral god as far as it comes to float design. He'll even say, I know what I told you, but that's not what I want. Or he'll be able to bring me more material and say, I need you to add this to this float because it needs a little something. The theme of this is a Zen garden. So we need to use quiet colors in a dynamic way so that it has a soothing look, but still has a lot of wow. I love to work with volunteers. I love to teach and share floral information, and I think that's why he's paired me up several times with the City of Torrance, because this is a volunteer float, and I come in here and there are people who have never worked with flowers before, and we have 4 days. I've got to explain some techniques, break it down into certain steps, and then be able to put those steps together to have a certain outcome.
What does a Rose Float Supervisor do? Well, meet June, your favorite Torrance Rose Float Supervisor.
Hey guys, June, your float supervisor here, and I just wanted to give you a little inside look as to what it is I do. I'm here every day during decoration week from 9 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. During that time, we have 2 shifts of volunteers that come in. The Torrance bus brings them in the morning and takes them home in the afternoon, and then comes back with another set of volunteers. Each bus load might have 30 to 50 people, And when the bus unloads and all the people come in, they come to me and say, June, what do I do? And it's my job to give everyone a job, show them how to do it, what materials to use, where to get the materials, how to do it correctly so it doesn't look sloppy because we don't have time to redo it, and make sure it gets done on time. There. And there's a rock here and a rock here. We're gonna make like a curved line like this to the tow hitch, and that's gonna be roses. To the tow hitch, and that's gonna be roses. Let's become one with the water. Think about the waterfall here. Where the water comes out, it's usually frothy and foamy because there's lots of air in the water. So we would use lighter flowers. Where the water is rushing against the rock in the middle, it would be lighter flowers. And in the other areas where it's subtle, flowy, calm waters, it'll be deeper, darker blue water. I gotta tell you, every float supervisor in the building is jealous because I definitely have the best crew. The people of Torrance care so much about their float. There's so much dedication, sense of community, and pride. So those feelings definitely show in how our float turned out.
We all agree that the Torrance Rose Float has the best volunteers. When the Torrance Rose Float volunteers show up to decorate, they begin with nothing on the float. And they don't stop until everything is done. It starts with a warm and smiling welcome in the hospitality tent. And then the float is decorated high and low. Every inch must be covered in natural material, including the hook that hangs the bamboo chimes on the float. Don and Mary Jo Colemiller have been decorating the Torrance float for 25 years. This year, they got to work on decorating Bijin the turtle and did a major part of installing the irises in the pond.
We like to do this. I like to decorate. I enjoy doing this.
For over 20 years, Dawn Hamilton has been a Torrance float decorator. She studied art in school and gets to use her artistic side on the float. This year, for the first time, Dawn was able to bring our youngest decorator with her son Dakota.
The reason why I wanted to do this is because my mom has been working on it for so long, and every Christmas, a day after Christmas, she would always have to leave 5 days. And I'm like, can I come, can I come, can I come, can I come, can I come? And she's like, not yet, not yet, not yet. I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm making a lot of new friends.
97-year-old Rosemary Walters is our oldest volunteer.
Oh, I love decorating. It's so much fun. And the Rose Float Association of Torrance is so good to us. They bring us out on a bus, they feed us. This year I did all those flowers. They have to be picked very carefully and very clean, all the excess leaves and everything. And it's very tedious work, but it's great fun. I love working with flowers.
With over 200 volunteers putting in hundreds of hours, the Torrance Rose Float is truly a community endeavor that involves young and old. The Torrance Rose Float comes to life and is an amazing transformation. When you walk into the Fiesta Parade Floats barn at the beginning of decorating week, you can't help but feel the anticipation. Our float starts out with nothing on it, and in 5 days it is transformed into a lush, gorgeous float. Here's our own version of Rose Float Extreme Makeover to show you the dramatic metamorphosis of our Torrance Rose Float.
Well, right now we're working on the pagoda deck, and then we are going to make sure that we have an explosion of color and flowers that will be the focal point of this float. The floral focal point. This is it.
To be intentionally random. So they don't want them all exactly the same, all the thick at the bottom, thin at the top, or the same number of bunches.
There's a detail that I want to show you guys. We've been working on it for a couple days, and I'm just so proud of it because it was an ugly sketch in my book, and now it has become a reality. Come, let's see. Will you look at how beautiful this cliff wall is over here? We've got horsetail grass, we've got cattails, we've got puzzle bark, eucalyptus leaves, and when you step back and take a look at it, it's breathtaking, it's beautiful. And once we put the flowers on, it's only going to get better from here.
Our float that started out bare is now ready for the final touch. Roses. There is always an air of excitement as the roses go on the float. It means that we are going to see that explosion of color and wow factor. And it means that our float is almost done. With the roses done and the final touches in progress, our float is ready for judging. Let's take a visit to the Pine Wind Garden. Pine Wind Garden is the inspiration for this year's float. Let's take a look at elements of the garden and how they were interpreted. It's a great start to 2020 for the city of Torrance. After a successful judging session, our float makes its way to Pasadena to line up for the parade. In the early morning hours, it is announced that the City of Torrance Rose Float has won the Princess Award for Most Outstanding Floral Presentation among entries 35 feet and under. It's a great start to a new year for the City of Torrance as our float is seen on national TV and makes headlines. This marks the 45th Rose Parade honor for the City of Torrance.
First of all, I want to thank all of our volunteers who put in endless hours so this beautiful float could go down Colorado Boulevard representing our beautiful city. And on top of that, we have all of our sponsors that have our businesses and other contributors that have helped fund the float, and most of all the city who helped make sure that we can have City of Torrance represented in the parade every year. Thank you, and we'll see you all next year.